Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full-time
MMA.
Bellator MMA has announced the matchups for their highly anticipated welterweight Grand Prix, and it includes Paul Daley versus MVP, a fight that we've all wanted to see for a long time now between two exciting strikers in Bellator's welterweight division. This fight was almost slipping away. Paul Daley was almost on his way outside of Bellator because he was wanting this fight, and it seemed like he may have had some issues with the company, not just about the MVP fight but other things. So Paul Daley was almost on his way out of Bellator. Now not only is he back, but he's back and he's in the Grand Prix, and the first round matchup is a fight that we've all wanted to see. MVP versus Paul Daley. I can't wait for that fight, but that's just one fight in the first round. We've also got Douglas Lima versus Andre Korshakov, which is a trilogy fight. Both of these guys former welterweight champions at Bellator, so they've got some serious skills. Those guys are going to be fighting. The winner of that fight will be fighting the winner of Daley versus MVP, and then the winner of that will move to the finals, of course. Now, we've also on the other side of the bracket got the Bellator welterweight champion and arguably the greatest welterweight of all time, Rory McDonald. He's going to be taking on John Fitch in the first round. Now, you can see their nameplates are highlighted in gold, and unlike everyone else's whose are in blue, and that's because this is a championship fight. Through each round, since Rory McDonald is the champion, he's going to be defending his belt in every round. So if John Fitch beats Rory McDonald in the first round, he then becomes the Bellator welterweight champion. If Ed Ruth or Neiman Gracie go on to beat John Fitch, now they're the Bellator welterweight champion moving into the final. So the welterweight title is on the line throughout this tournament. So you can see we got John Fitch versus Rory McDonald, probably the two best grapplers in this tournament, taking each other on in the first round, and the winner of that fight is going to be facing the winner of Ed Ruth and Neiman Gracie, and that's a good matchup as well because I believe Ed Ruth is a talented up-and-coming wrestler, if I'm not mistaken. At least I think he's well-rounded. He's got some serious skills. I mean, he just made it into this tournament. I don't know a lot about Ed Ruth, but I know Bellator has a lot of guys that are very talented wrestlers, and they might not be the most exciting fighters, but they're still some of the best fighters in the world, because if you know MMA, you know having a solid wrestling base can take you a long way in the sport. Now, it's not the most exciting fighting style, but it's still probably one of the best to have if you're looking to become one of the best fighters in the world. So with that being said, Ed Ruth, he's going to be taking on Neiman Gracie, very talented jiu-jitsu player, and so that fight, it's always good to see well, I like it. I mean, it might not be the most exciting fight for the casual fan, but it's always interesting to see how if a wrestler will be able to defend a lot of the submissions attempted from the jiu-jitsu player, or if the jiu-jitsu guy can submit the wrestler who's looking to put him on his back, but that's where they like to operate. So that's going to be a fun matchup. Now, that's on one side of the bracket, and you see the fight in the middle. Of course, you got Lorenz Larkin, former UFC fighter, who came over to Bellator and lost his first two fights, but he's picked up a win since then. So Lorenz Larkin is now 1-2 in Bellator, but he's going to be in the alternate fight taking on Yaroslav Ambasov. I don't know that guy much, but honestly, I'm kind of surprised Lorenz Larkin didn't make it into the tournament. I would have liked to see how he did in this tournament. I mean, we got some good competitors in here, but Lorenz Larkin, I mean, he came from the UFC. He's got wins over like Santiago, Nibio, Nil Magny, Jorge Masvidal. So he's got some wins over the best welterweights in the world. So I would have liked to see Lorenz Larkin in this tournament. But hey, he came over here and lost his first two fights, so maybe that had something to do with him not making it. So either way, this is going to be a fun tournament. It kicks off September 29th. The first fight is going to be between Douglas Lima and Andre Korshakov, of course, the trilogy fight. But on that same card, you've got Rory McDonald versus Gegard Mousasi in a champ versus champ super fight over at Bellator. So Rory McDonald, the champion's also going to be fighting on that night, but he's not going to be fighting his tournament fight. He's going to actually be going up to look to beat Gegard Mousasi and obtain the middleweight title. And if he can do that, he'll be coming into this welterweight tournament as the champ. We will have a motherfucking champ in the welterweight Grand Prix. How fucking crazy would that be? I mean, holy smokes. And Rory McDonald is one of the greatest welterweights on the planet today. He's got to win over the UFC's current champion, Tyron Woodley. And so with that being said, if he can get back to where he was before, you know, some of the wars he was in, you know, if he can really get his bearings back like it looked like he has since becoming the welterweight champion, I mean, Rory McDonald's getting back to himself. A lot of people kind of wondered if he would be able to after coming to Bellator, but I think he's answering those questions, and if he can beat Gegard Mousasi, I think it would be for sure. I mean, Gegard Mousasi is one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. He's fought at heavyweight, fought at light heavyweight. His resume is absolutely insane. If you don't know about Gegard Mousasi, I don't blame you, because he's more of a guy for the hardcore fans. The casual fans don't put a lot of respect on his name, but he's one of the most underrated fighters, and if you look at his resume, it'll blow your mind away if you don't know about Gegard. But if you're listening to this channel, I assume you do. Gegard the GOAT. If it's going to be a tough fight for Rory McDonald, I'm probably leaning toward Gegard in that fight. But just imagine, what if Rory won that fight, and that means he would be coming into this tournament as the champ. That would add a whole new level of craziness to this already dope Bellator welterweight Grand Prix. So, I mean, Bellator's on to something. I got to admit, they got the heavyweight Grand Prix going on, which the semifinals are starting soon, with Chael Sonnen taking on Fedor and Ryan Bader taking on Matt Mitrione. And then the winner of those fights face each other in the finals. So they got the heavyweight Grand Prix, the welterweight Grand Prix now, and who knows, maybe the UFC will take a page out of Bellator's book, even though the UFC really started all of this. But I mean, as far as present day, I would like to see, there's a couple of divisions we could see a tournament go on in the in the UFC. Whether it's the lightweight, there's been talks of a like absolutely insane stacked lightweight tournament with Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and then on the other side, like Nate Diaz takes on GSP. And so that would have been absolutely crazy. The winner of those fights squaring off, I mean, and other than that, I mean, that one, you know, would be absolutely stacked. But then you look at the light heavyweight division for Daniel Cormier, he's probably not coming back to light heavyweight. He's said that he's willing to defend the light heavyweight belt, but those fights, there's not really any big fights for him at light heavyweight. And I was listening to Chael Sonnen recently, and he talked about why that wouldn't really be a good move by DC to go back down to light heavyweight. And so, with that being said, at light heavyweight, we've got a lot of contenders kind of right now. You got Alexander Gustafsson, Anthony Smith, I mean, Ilir Latifi, Yoel Romero's talking about coming up. So we could potentially see like Volkan Ozdemir. So we could see like a light heavyweight Grand Prix over in the UFC. So we'll see what happens, man. But either way, it's a great time to be an MMA fan. I don't know how many times we're going to say that, probably a lot this coming up year, because holy shit, we've got Darren Till versus Tyron Woodley coming up at UFC 228. Even in the PFL, we got Kayla Harrison taking on Josette Cotton up later this month, I believe next week. And then in Bellator, we've got a lot of crazy shit coming up. Champ versus champ super fights, both of the Grand Prix now rolling. I mean, they've got Gegard Mousasi, Rory McDonald, a lot of fighters now to be excited for over at Bellator. And then PFL's got the lightweight and light heavyweight tournament going on, $1 million tournament. And then, oh, we haven't even got to the fucking UFC yet, who's going to be having Darren Till versus Woodley, McGregor versus Khabib, possibly Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier. GSP's likely coming back. Anderson Silva's likely coming back. We're still waiting on Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar likely. Holy smokes, Henry Cejudo just dethroned Demetrius Johnson. I mean, what's going on? It's a great time to be an MMA fan. Let's go. And with that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. And before we go, shout out to all the full-time MMA white belts that have hit the subscribe button. Make sure you also hit the bell right next to it so you get notified every time I upload a new video, or some of the time that I upload a new video, because YouTube's notification bell is a player hater But this is one of the hardest working independent MMA channels on YouTube. We provide daily updates, full fight card breakdowns and predictions. We make MMA fighter freestyles, and we've already interviewed pro fighters Aljamain Sterling, Sean O'Malley, Felony Charles Bennett, and Bruce Lushmedio in just a little over a year as an MMA channel. We're one of the fastest growing MMA channels on YouTube. So with that being said, if you're interested in more videos like this, check out the Full-Time MMA Dojo over at patreon.com. One of the things you can see while you're over there are some of the goals of the channel, and also more free videos like this, betting advice, and more. We just launched the Full-Time MMA store over on teespring.com, and we've got some limited edition gear in order to celebrate that. We've got some Day One Foop the Other Side shirts that are only available for a limited time. Also, you got leggings, phone cases, Don't Be a Bagel Biter, coffee mugs, and more. With that being said, you can check the links out in the description if you want to check out the Full-Time MMA Dojo or the Full-Time MMA store on Teespring. I apologize about the long outro, but a closed mouth don't get fed, and if I don't plug myself, who will? So respect, let the Full-Time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOG.